Bitcoin hits $4,300. It's a stellar day, and we're giving away cryptocurrency. All that and more on this episode of the Bad Crypto Podcast.
Who's bad?
Rocket Man, Travis is burning up crypto. They're alone.
And I think it's gonna be a long, long time until it goes to the moon and back again.
Yes, and it's the Bad Crypto Podcast. Joel here and Travis.
Yes, welcome to episode 10 of
Yes,
Bad
1-0. We're all binary today.
010. Binary solo.
1-0-1-0-1-0-1. And thank you to all of our listeners. We continue to break records episode after episode with more and more subscribers and listeners. Big thank you to you guys. And today is a day that we do more than usual. We're going to give back in a whole new way. And 100 of you are going to get some free cryptocurrency today. How's that sound?
Free cash money. And I want to say this to you guys because you guys are amazing. You know, Joel and I have done other shows and we do other shows, but there's not been any show that I've been a part of, and I know that Joel's mentioned the same thing, that has had this much, engagement and fuel right from the very beginning. I mean, we're the 36th most popular business podcast in the world right now, according to iTunes, and I don't even know what we are when it comes to investing. But this is all thanks to you guys. So thank you for liking what we're throwing down, because without you guys, we would not stay motivated. You guys are keeping us on fire over here.
We are on fire. On fuego. And this podcast, in case you are wondering, in case there's any question, in case there's any doubt in your mind, it is bad. We are still relatively new to this. We're still figuring it out. And as we figure it out as we go along, we're sharing what we learn with you. And so, it's funny when anybody reviews and say, these guys don't know what they're talking about. We're like, hello, duh, did you see the title of the show?
Right. And that's just the way that it is. We are teaching as we are learning. And, we're not trying to be too fluffy in the beginning. We're just jokers at heart, right? We like to have fun, keep it entertaining. And so that's what we do. And I just looked, Joel, we are the 11th top ranked podcast when it comes to investing. We are past James Altucher, Money, Motley Fool. We just passed that. We passed Tony Robbins. Are you kidding me? Mad Money. We're ahead of him. What? Rich Dad?
Mad money. Bye.
Crazy.
Got a comment and a question from a listener. He says, and he didn't leave a name. He texted our Google Voice number. So, Mr. No Name, we won't reveal your phone number. But he said, great podcast so far, guys. Any thoughts on using vaults on Coinbase? They seem pretty secure. I think the 2-day clearing and constant communication throughout those 2 days is pretty effective. So what he's talking about here is if you use Coinbase, which is the low-hanging fruit, the easiest way for anybody to get started, especially in the U.S. with cryptocurrency. It's Coinbase.com, and if you go through our affiliate link, which is badco.in/Coinbase in the show notes, and you buy $100 in crypto of any kind from them, you get $10 in free Bitcoin, and so do we. So anyway, the vault is a way to move your cryptocurrency from the Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Ethereum wallet and move it into a secure place that it can't just be accessed at the drop of a hat, right?
Yeah, so the Coinbase Vault, and Joel and I have both used it. What it does, it creates this extra layer of protection on top of your coin. So say, for example, if...
It's a crypto condom.
It's a crypto condom. Wow.
You should practice safe crypto.
You should practice safe crypto. But Joel did mention the deterrent of that is that it does take an additional 48 hours or so to get that money out of your vault. So Bitcoin wallets, they're great for day-to-day spending, but if you're storing large amounts of crypto, then, especially for long term, then you want to have some extra security on top of that. And that's what that Coinbase Vault allows you to do. And time delayed withdrawals. So withdrawals from the vault have a 48-hour window, multiple approvers. So if you have a joint account, then that has to happen for both approvers to actually initiate a withdrawal. And yeah, so it allows you to withdraw with confidence and store that. So it's safer than just leaving it on Coinbase in your wallet. That is for sure. Still, the preferred method is to move that over to cold storage somewhere offline.
Yes. And if you are invested in Bitcoin, got to say, it's a beautiful day because it has broken through 4,000, as we mentioned on the last episode, and then just kept moseying up. I saw it hit 4,300. As of right now, as we speak, Bitcoin is sitting at 4,264. So it's finding a new base. And where's it going? I don't know. But if you're holding some, you got to be pretty pleased right now.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy that day when we're like, oh my God, you guys, Bitcoin just hit $10,000. And it'll probably happen a lot sooner than any of us thought it would. Who thought a couple of weeks ago when it was $1,800 that we'd be sitting at 4,250 plus at this point? That's crazy.
That's crazy talk right there. And, disclaimers coming up shortly, gang. In fact, we've got a segment coming that is pre-recorded. We actually recorded a segment with the CTO and co-founder of Stellar Lumens, stellar.org, on video. And we're going to tell you where to find this bad crypto extra on YouTube shortly. But before we get there, and along with the disclaimers and why we're interviewing this gentleman, let's talk a little bit about altcoins, of which Stellar Lumens are an altcoin. So what, Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Is everything else an altcoin?
I believe that is the the technical term, is that if it's not Bitcoin, then it's an alternative cryptocurrency, right? So it's an alternative coin to Bitcoin. And so, Bitcoin is not the only show in town. There are other coins out there. And so, Bitcoin has its own particular rules. New coins are produced every 10 minutes. A Bitcoin is mined using lots of computing power. Some dedicated computer chips can, mine Bitcoin quicker than others. There's only going to be 21 million Bitcoins, and Bitcoin is designed to be a form of electronic money. Now, other crypto coins, they have their own rules, right? So what are some of the differences with Litecoin, for example, Joel?
Well, Litecoin creates new coins every 2.5 minutes, which is 4 times faster than Bitcoin. So transactions can be confirmed and made a lot faster than Bitcoin does. They've also got different rules for miners and, and how that all works. I don't fully understand it, but Litecoin, which we've talked about, is an example of an altcoin, an alternative coin, and each altcoin ends up forming its own community. In fact, if you go to coinmarketcap.com, you'll see over 800 Bitcoin's up top, and then everything else is an altcoin. And each one of those probably has a Reddit community of its own, a Telegraph community, perhaps a Slack community. And under the altcoin header, there are good coins, which are legitimate or at least intend to be legitimate. And then there are scam coins.
Yes, scam coins, and you've heard us call them shit coins.
Well, you have
in the past.
You've
heard me say that because Joel's very, very saintly with his words.
No, I just let you do all the dirty work.
That's right. That's good. I see how it is. Now, when we have our own individual extras, when you and I are just chatting, those aren't being recorded. So
I can neither confirm nor deny.
That is true. But a lot of problems with these scam coins / shit coins is that these folks are out there pumping and dumping, and they're going out and they're promoting and trying to build lots of buzz about their coin to drive up the value. And then at that point, the seller or the creator of those is going to try to sell as many of their coins as possible, leaving that scam coin to fizzle out. So not all altcoins are good. Actually, there's just a few of them that are good that I would invest in, and those are typically ones that are going to be in the top 30 overall, maybe top 50 overall. coins. And
Well, I think there's others that are the lower than that. There's up and comers. There's new ICOs that are not yet in the top
true.
50 that are legitimate. The thing is you need to look at the white paper, which details their plan. Not just the math, but what function this coin serves. You have to look at the team behind it. Who is creating this coin? What is their track record? What advisors do they have? So, we're going to get more into altcoins in the future because there's a lot of...
What problems are they solving? That's a big one.
Yeah, what problems are they solving?
A big problem in an industry that has a big problem that nobody else is solving with blockchain? If that happens, then you go, look at this. This is an interesting space, right? Nobody's solving this yet. These guys are, good team. Wow, low price. And then you can make decisions.
Problem solving. And we're going to talk a lot more about altcoins in the future because there's new ones coming out. There's existing ones that are worthy of discussion. But right now, we're going to send you to this interview with Jed McCaleb of stellar.org. You're going to hear a really cool sound effect. It's almost going to be like this warp through time, and then bam, interview. Buckle in. Here we go. So we told you we were going to bring some altcoins, and we are always on the lookout for interesting crypto that's out there. And we promise that we will do our best to always vet those companies and cryptos that we bring before you to the best of our knowledge. But of course, this podcast is for entertainment purposes. We are not financial advisors. You are responsible for your own money. So please don't take anything that we share with you as investment advice. Right, Travis?
That is correct, because we are not financial advisors. We have been in this process of learning how the whole crypto world works. And in the process of our journey, we are sharing our learnings. And along the way, we've had some pretty amazing conversations. We have learned some amazing things. We've shared with you a lot of stuff already. We've gone, I guess our episode 9 dropped last night. And so we are a serial podcast as well. So if you tune into the beginning episodes, then you can get caught up because we lay the foundation on each episode. Gets a little stronger.
We break it down.
We're building a wall, one brick at a time.
So that to say that today's podcast, we're going to introduce you to this guy who's like, when are you going to get on with it already? I don't know how much more. If you guys break out in song, I'm out of here. So this is actually a sponsored interview today, and we want to let you know that we are being compensated for our time with bringing this individual and their company to you. However, we're doing it first because we like what they're doing and we think you should meet them. And frankly, don't you think we should get paid a little bit to do this show? I mean, Travis got to eat. So with that said, now it's time to bring in the individual who's got the deer in the headlights look next to us. His name is Jed McCaleb. He is the CTO and co-founder of the currently number 33 cryptocurrency in terms of market cap. What is it at right now? $193 million is the market cap. The organization is stellar.org, STLLAR.org, and he's had experience in technology and crypto for some time. He founded eDonkey, which is some sort of file sharing service, I believe, founded Mt. Gox, and also the founder of Ripple, which is another cryptocurrency, but now he's with stellar.org. And welcome, Jed. How you doing?
Good. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you're not ready to run yet? We haven't scared him off yet.
Very nice. Hey, it looks like it's the 21st size cryptocurrency with market cap right now.
Are you looking at coin market?
Changes a lot.
I am. Yeah, 193 million. If you sort it by market cap, not market volume,
it's higher by volume.
No, I'm looking at market cap. So I'm just, I just want to make sure we have disclosure here. In fact, let me go ahead and I'll pull up my screen here.
If we're clicking on all or if we're clicking on currencies.
I am going to share my screen and we're going to bring it up and let's just see what it says.
Okay, 33, that's on all. If we do all, that's including currencies and assets, you're correct. Just currencies, it's 21.
Okay, so there it is. Of course, the granddaddy Bitcoin's at the top with 70 billion market cap. And there are over, how many are there? Like 847 currencies are listed. And these guys, very impressive, sitting right here with this market cap is Stellar Lumens, which I guess is the currency of Stellar. Is that right, Jed?
Yeah, that's right. It's like, yeah, it's our internal native currency, we would call it.
Okay, so tell us, what is stellar.org?
So the Stellar network, basically the goal of it is to be this internet level protocol for payments. It's the goal is to kind of connect all financial institutions and payment networks together, because right now sending money, it's basically the aim is to be able to enable sending money cross border. Right now that process is pretty cumbersome and works like pre-internet, right? So Stellar is a way, you can sort of think of it as a SMTP is for email. It's this like low level protocol that financial institutions can use to make sending money around seamless, right? So that's what the network is. Stellar.org is a nonprofit foundation that we set up 3 years ago to kind of be the shepherd of this network, to be sort of like Linux Foundation for it, right? Where it maintains the core protocol and it's also responsible for distributing these lumens out as widely as possible to the world.
What's the why? What's the big problem that, that isn't being solved? I mean, right now, you can send money bank to bank from Thailand to Canada, right? But what's the issue?
So yeah, I mean, there are certain corridors where you can send money around. For instance, in the example you just said, it would probably take a week. You would get hit by extremely high fees. If you wanted to send $100 that way, it really wouldn't be possible. The wire fee would probably be like $60 anyway. So for some use cases, yes, sending money around the world works, but broadly speaking, it's pretty broken, right? So we do most of our work in the developing world, so places like the Philippines or Nigeria, and places there, more than half the people don't have bank accounts, right? So you need to be able to send money to their mobile money operator, or they need to be able to pull out cash from some ATM, things like that. And that system just doesn't work at all right now, right? So this is just it's actually a lot like the way email works. Like with email, it doesn't matter if you're sending a message from a university or a business or what have you, or somebody running their own mail server. Everyone can send messages to each other because they're following the same protocol. And today there's not one universal protocol that is used for sending money around, right? There's lots of different ones, and Stellar's Stellar's goal is to be this universal protocol. So it doesn't matter if you're a bank or a mobile money operator. If I'm sending one currency and you're receiving another, all these things should be interoperable.
Yeah. So there are the remittance fees in these third world countries and even second world countries are so astronomically high that it makes it not advantageous for people to use the traditional the banking system. Why do you think the banks are, if I wanted to send $100, why would the fees be $60? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a result of just kind of this legacy process of how the money moves around. Like basically all their software is pretty antiquated and cumbersome.
We went to see their machines. Are there all like command prompts running?
Yeah, it's like there's faxes that people send, and there's a lot of manual steps. There's like people
what is this actually thing you call fax? What is
yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. So
that's great.
The other issue is that there's this corresponding banking system, right? So when you want to send money from, say, Thailand to Brazil, it doesn't go directly, right? It has to go to New York first, right? It has to go through the US dollar. And this is true even of countries that are right next to each other, right? So Thailand to like Singapore, it goes to US dollar first, which is really inefficient, right? And it involves like multiple currency exchanges and currency volatility and all these things, right?
Is that because of the global reserve currency? It has to switch to that first before it can be transferred to another currency?
Yeah, that's right. And because that's the way SWIFT works, right? Like basically every transaction goes through SWIFT ends up going to US dollar at some point, more or less. So
I want to pull up your website here, and there's a lot to go through, and we encourage you guys to go to stellar.org and poke around. But I kind of like I wanted you to be able to highlight that which you feel would be most useful, because there's a lot of content here. So maybe Jed, you can tell us what you would like to share that you think our listeners should know.
Oh, sure. Yeah. There's kind of a lot to wrap your head around. I mean, I think, generally the cool things for me, I mean, I guess I take a little bit of a technology bent here, but is just the way the system actually works. So I don't know if you want me to actually like lead you through the where to click and stuff?
Let's talk about that. Is there somewhere on the site that I can
Sure.
share?
Just go how it works at the top, and then go read explainers, which is this kind of second link. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, look at that.
And this kind of like talks about how the system kind of works at a high level, right? So it is this decentralized network. Basically, what it is it's a distributed database, right? So it's coming to consensus about a particular ledger, right? And so in that ledger, we have, your balance in Lumens, but we can also keep your balance in other currencies, right? So that's why it's useful for this cross-border use case. Is you can put your balance in dollars or euros or Bitcoin or whatever, in any kind of asset, right? Can be held in there. And then there's this distributed exchange that allows you to trade between these things, right? So when you're sending money, say from the US to Mexico, you're holding dollars, and in the network, it gets traded into pesos, and then the person receives pesos, and there's somebody in the middle that's put an order inside Stellar buying the dollars and selling pesos, right? And then that person's order is taken with this payment, right? So the cool thing is it all happens atomically, meaning that no one, the sender and receiver, are not exposed to currency volatility. They're never holding anything they don't want to hold. The whole transaction either succeeds or fails. So it's much better for sending money internationally because you don't get stuck in the middle, basically.
A couple of things here I want to point out. One, this is a really simple illustration, but as we talk about decentralized networks, this really sums it up. This is an image of a centralized network. So right here in the middle, you've got the bank, right? And we all individually communicate, all institutions, individuals, businesses communicate with that bank. But in a decentralized world, see, there's nobody at the middle. You're always at the middle. You get to be the center of the universe in a decentralized network. Now, what stuck out to me here is this distributed exchange. Currently, if I want to buy a certain currency on a different exchange, typically what I do is I go on Coinbase and I buy with cash some Bitcoin. And then I send that Bitcoin to the exchange where I want to purchase the other currency. I sell that Bitcoin, and then I buy or whatever currency I've got, and then I buy the other. There's a lot of steps to it. It's complicated. So you're saying that Stellar makes it a lot easier and faster to make that exchange?
Yeah, it makes it easier and faster, and also makes it where there's less counterparty risk, right? Like you still have, when you put Bitcoin in the network, you still have what we call an anchor that is actually holding the real Bitcoin, and there's basically a Bitcoin token inside Stellar, but basically you're free to choose who your anchor is, and all these different Bitcoins can interact with each other inside the network, right? So it's just a much more fluid, flexible system, and it pools the liquidity from everybody, right? So you don't have to go to like lots of different exchanges to do this, right? It's all inside one system. So it should be more efficient in the long run.
So is that located inside your Stellar wallet? Where exactly is this located at? So where would my Bitcoin be if I'm, using this protocol to buy Bitcoin? Where is that located at? Is it within the wallet? Is it within? Because I think that's maybe some area where people may not understand.
Right. So it's basically, again, the why we built it was to like connect existing financial institutions to each other, right? So when you have a dollar inside Stellar, it's not just a dollar, it's Wells Fargo dollar or Chase Bank dollar, right? It's backed by a particular institution, and we call that institution the anchor, right? So it's basically anchoring that tokenized dollar inside Stellar to the rest of the world, right? And you can also have these anchors for cryptocurrencies, right? So you can have like a Litecoin anchor or a Bitcoin anchor, and all that is it does, so an exchange today, like Kraken or whatever, does kind of two things. Like it custodians your Bitcoin, like you send your Bitcoin there and now it's holding your Bitcoin. And then it's also providing this order book where you can trade these things, right? Mm-hmm. So Anchor just does the first part of that, right? You send your Bitcoin to the Anchor and it custodians for it and then issues you a token in the Stellar network where you can trade it or send it around to other people, things like that, right? So so there is some entity that you have to leave your Bitcoin on deposit with to make this distributed exchange work. But again, it's flexible who you choose to, which entity you choose for that, and you can easily move it from one entity to another if something goes wrong, things like that. So, yeah.
So, okay, so stellar.org is the foundation, but you've created a currency that I guess is the fuel for the foundation, and they're called Lumens, and the symbol is XLM. So explain why the foundation needs a currency to operate.
Well, so the foundation doesn't need it. It's for the network itself, right? Because what we have is this open public network, and there needs to be a way to prevent people from DOSing the thing, basically, right? You don't want someone to generate like billions and billions of accounts, because you have this database where everything is replicated with everyone else, right? So the Lumen is the way to kind of limit that from happening, right? So every transaction has a very small amount of Lumen that must be spent with it. So basically one Lumen gets you 100,000 transactions. So it's essentially free if you're using it for anything normal, but if you're trying to, destroy the network, it gets expensive. And the same with making an account. Like if you put an account in the network, it requires a 20 Lumen reserve, and then you get that back if you close the account. So basically just kind of, it makes it where people that are doing stuff in the network are more legitimate actors. And so that's why you need it. It also ends up being very useful for these cross-border payments, because for instance, in these countries, like for instance, like Nigeria, you want to send money to Nigeria to like Bahrain or something, right? There's not a lot of liquidity there. And so rather than having an order book for each of these individual pairs, you have an order book from Nigerian Naira to Lumens, and then Lumens to Bahraini dinar. You can basically just have one order book for each country, and in that way you get much greater liquidity, right?
I've heard a lot about third world countries using crypto a lot more actively than what we're doing. We're doing a lot of investing in the Western world, but tell me what you know about how it's actually being utilized.
Yeah, so payments work okay in the U.S. and Europe, and that's why when we explain Stellar to people in the U.S., they kind of like, well, why don't I just use PayPal or whatever? But when you go explain to somebody in Nigeria, they're like, holy shit, this is awesome! Like I want this today, right? Because their payments there are just super broken, right? And so it'll be a lot like cell phones, I think, where cell phones took off much quicker in places like Indonesia or Philippines, where they didn't have landlines before. Whereas the progress was a little bit slower in the U.S., right? It's just kind of leapfrogging effect, where the infrastructure is just so broken in the developing world for payments that it should just go immediately to this better way of doing things, right? And I think so. The plan is basically starting there and just grow up from there. Like basically, like eventually the rest of the world should get on it as well. But I think you kind of build this first foothold or whatever in the developing world.
I have a question around that, because say I'm in a third world country, I don't have a smartphone, I have a regular mobile phone. Is this a protocol that works on these regular mobile devices? And how easy is it for folks in the third world countries to jump on the network and utilize this?
So again, it's mainly for end users can use it. Like that's an option. I think that's really important. But it's like running a mail server, right? You can personally run a mail server, but you don't really. You trust Yahoo or Google or whoever to run your mail server. And the same will be true of this. Like you can run your own Stellar Core and like do the transactions yourself, or you can just have your financial institution do it, right? So they have mobile money things everywhere throughout the world. The problem is they're just not connected internationally, right? So these people have like they have M-Pesa or like different mobile things on their phone, and those work on feature phones as well as smartphones. And then those financial institutions will be connected to Stellar, and the user won't even really know that that's what's happening. It'll be like when you swipe your credit card, you don't really know what's kind of going underneath the hood, but you just know the money moves, and that's all that people actually ultimately care about. Is that the money's actually moving. Right?
So you guys are doing outreach specifically to these financial institutions to get them on board with Ripple.
That's right, with Stellar, but yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was Stellar. Yeah, sorry.
That was
my brain. I was
slide.
sitting there looking at this, going, "Wow, this seems like." I mean, because it's very specific around the financial institute, and how that's all working. So that's the little brain rewiring in my head going on.
I mean, they're obviously like somewhat similar. I think we're just approaching the market in a different way.
Yeah,
there's a lot of places you guys can connect with Stellar. I think that their vision. Actually, I would like Jed. Why don't you synopsize the big picture vision for Stellar?
Yeah. So I mean, ultimately, the goal, like I said, is to be this kind of fundamental protocol for moving money around, right? Where when any kind of financial institution wants to send payments, just by default, it uses the Stellar protocol, right? Like just when you want to set up a web page, by default, you use HTTP. So the hope is that we can get to that level. I mean, obviously that's like pretty ambitious. So we'll see, but maybe it becomes the default way of sending money around Africa or something like that. Like any of those would be good. I mean, I think ultimately what I want to see is more openness and more neutrality and less gatekeepers for people having all kinds of different levels of financial access, right? Because what you've kind of seen with the internet is it's basically democratized access to information and gave you this open thing, and it kind of led to all these benefits that probably the creators of the internet didn't anticipate, like things like Wikipedia and Airbnb. And I think we'll see some similar phenomenon when there's this open platform for financial transactions, right? Where now, if you're a kid in like Argentina, you can all of a sudden sell something for $1 to somebody in Thailand. Like it's just I don't think we will know, we can imagine what the repercussions of that will be. I think it'll be greater than what we kind of like first pass think of. So that's what I want to see.
It's a good thing for humanity. There's no doubt, more accessible that we make transactions to anybody, regardless of how much money they're sending. Transaction fees are stupid crazy. You guys can connect with Stellar if you go to their website at stellar.org and click the community tab. They're on Twitter, Slack, Reddit. There's a Facebook group, and there's some unofficial groups as well. They have an email that you can sign up for their Stellar news. And now we've got some really exciting news for you guys, because we are going to make it rain. Travis, why don't you talk about what we're doing?
I want to get into that real quick here, but I want to mention how smoking fast the transactions are within Stellar Lumens, and it's really interesting. And I noticed that the consensus, you guys have your own Stellar Lumens consensus protocol, right? That seems that doesn't rely on proof of work or proof of stake. It's actually a combination of multiple things. Could you maybe explain that real quick? Because I was amazed at how fast the transaction happened. From all the coins that I've used, Stellar Lumens was super fast. And why is that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things when I first got involved in, first learned about Bitcoin, it was, once you realize that this problem is possible to be solved, that you can have this distributed consensus, like naturally as a computer science person, you just start thinking of other ways to solve the problem. And, I kind of came up with the vague idea that underpinned Stellar, and then started talking to Professor David Mazaris, who is a CS professor at Stanford, just trying to bounce ideas off of him, like how to make this more robust. And he actually got super excited about it, and took sabbatical from Stanford and wrote this long white paper that it describes the Stellar consensus protocol, right? So it's basically what it is just message passing between the participants, and it's sort of an extension of PBFT or Paxos, these consensus algorithms that existed before Bitcoin, but only worked in a fixed set of participants, where you'd have to know who all the people that were validating the transactions were, and extends it where it can work in a federated setting, which means that you don't know who everyone is, and people can come and go. And so now SCP is this kind of flexible system that works really quickly, but you can still know that that the network will converge to one value, right? So there's more detail. Like if you're interested, and there's more detail on our website. If you go to the stellar.org/developers, there's a link in a video where he goes through and explains the white paper's there, of course, but then he also explains and just do this presentation, which is
very cool. So it makes it go very fast, very secure, good stuff. And as Joel mentioned, we have a big surprise going on.
Now, can we make it rain? Now
we can make it rain. We're going to give away some lumens. Jed over here is said, hey, the Bad Crypto listeners, we'd like to hook them up with some lumens.
We're talking free cryptocurrency. Now, you guys remember we've got our own currency we're creating called Badcoin, and we were going to give some of that away to you, but there's no value to Badcoin right now. And when we talked to Jed, we're like, wait, we can actually give away something that actually has monetary value. And if we go to, let me go ahead and pull up the coin market cap again, so you guys know exactly what is coming your way. Let's see, there's the Stellar site, there's crypto market cap. So Stellar Lumens is right here. When I last loaded, currently sitting at 0.017518. How many decimal points is that? Six decimal points. There are over 11 billion lumens in existence. And first of all, why don't you talk about why you want to give lumens away?
Yeah, so basically, one of the fallouts of having a different consensus algorithm, because like proof of work does two things: it validates the network and then also distributes the bitcoins to the world, right? So we have a different way of validating the network. So all the lumens exist in the first place, like when the network starts, right? So one of the mistakes I think I made with Ripple is that we didn't distribute the XRP widely enough, and so with Stellar, one of the founding goals was to distribute 95% of them widely to the world, and then 5% are retained by SDF to pay for operations, right? So this is just one of the ways that we're distributing the lumens, right? I think the goal is to give, like for 50 billion lumens, we're giving small amounts to individuals. So hopefully get millions and millions of people to actually have the currency, and then they can start sending to each other, and it just creates activity and creates buy-in and interest and things like that. So it's just a way to promote the network and get people on board. Yeah.
Excellent. And because you, the Bad Crypto listeners, are special, you have an opportunity. We don't have lumens for everybody.
We don't have millions and millions of lumens.
No. Over the next month, we are going to be giving them away in probably 4 different distributions. Around 100 people at a time are going to get lumens from us, and we're going to ask you to take a different action and be the first to take that action in order to claim your lumens. And in this case, how many they're getting, Travis?
Getting 500 lumens per group, right? So we're going to do 100 for the first giveaway. We're going to give 100 away. And what we want you to do is sign up for the newsletter, right, Joel?
Which is valuable in and of itself. And
absolutely. You're getting all this value, but wait, there's more.
Yeah. So really, really easy to do, to claim to be one of the 100. And don't get mad at us if you miss it. There's thousands of listeners to this podcast. That's why we're spreading them out. We actually have 400 sets of 500 lumens that we're going to be giving away over the next month. So for today, the action that you want to take is to go to badco.in/news and put your email in, your name and your email, and then you have to verify your email address. And what we're going to do, the way our email database works, is they're consecutive. So we can tell the order that the subscriptions came in. And those first 100 verified email subscriptions, we will send you through the Stellar system an invite to claim your 500 lumens. If you don't write us and ask, where are my lumens, please? Otherwise, we're going to be flooded with email. We are going to give them to the first 100. So if you get an invite, you'll know that you are one of the first 100. Jed, thanks so much for joining us today, the CTO and co-founder of Stellar.org.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you so much to Jed McCaleb over there at Stellar for joining us and being so gracious to offer our community these coins. And so, as we mentioned, we are giving away this week 100 of those invitations out, and each one of those invitations will have 500 lumens that all you have to do is claim them. And so here it is. To claim your Stellar lumens, what you need to do is go to badco.in/lumens, LUMENS.
No, it's /news, because they say
/news.
Right.
Yes. Should I redo that over?
No, I'd say let's just keep going. I mean, you guys know we're bad already.
We're bad. So that's it. So go ahead and actually the badco/lumens actually takes you to their website or something. I'm not sure exactly what we're doing.
You're really bad today.
I don't remember. It doesn't say. It just says lumens. How to claim your lumens. Boom.
He's looking at the show notes. He's going, I don't know what I'm doing. That's okay. We bad. So badco.in/news takes you to the page where you can sign up for the Bad Crypto Podcast newsletter, where we will keep you posted on content, events, things that we think you should know. We don't even know. It's new. It's new news. So, but the first 100 that we detect, as we mentioned in the interview, will get an invite for the lumens. And then the Bad Crypto Extra is now up on our YouTube channel.
There it is.
A short link to that is badco.in/extra. lumens, and lumens is spelled LUMENS. And this
Yes.
is the full interview. We spent more time with Jed, and this also, the latter half, if you want to jump to, okay, how do I claim my lumens? How do I get them into a wallet and secure them? Then we've actually shown you how to do that step by step. Super easy.
Good stuff. And then in the show notes on the YouTube link, you will see exactly the time. We'll paste a link in there so you can go exactly to that particular time to see how to do that. If you don't want to watch the whole video, if you've already listened to it online, that's great. We'll give you that as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate every one of you and your enthusiasm and your engagement with the show, connecting with us on the Facebooks and the Twitters and the Instagrams and the messages. And oh, by the way, if you want to call us and leave us a voicemail, we would love to have your voice on the next episode. That number is 708-885-9030.
And that number, again, is 708-885-9030. Operators are standing by. And by operators, we mean Google Voice, because it's always on.
And by standing by, that means nothing. They're just...
Only 100 people. The first 100 are going to get these lumens, and there's thousands of you listening. Okay, so don't write us and ask, did I qualify? We'll contact you if you got them. We're not going to. We just can't answer all the other emails. There's just not enough hours in the day. But know this: that we have 300 more sets of lumens, and we will be giving away 100 people each week. With a different action, we'll get them. So that's going to wrap it up. Glad you guys are listening. On behalf of Travis and myself, you know how to stay, right? You stay bad.
Who's back?